Hello, everybody, and welcome to Infamous Horrors and Infamous Interviews. Today, I am joined by Lisa Wilcox, and her new TV show is called Barbee Rehab. So, Lisa, what got you interested in this TV show? Because there's a lot of interesting characters in this. And what got you interested in playing your character, Alex?
What's the last part?
What got you interested in playing your character, Alex?
Oh, well, I heard about it, and gosh darn, I don't recall the gal's name. I met her. She was at a convention where I was signing, and she told me about this show, Barbee Rehab, and this premise what just cracked me up. And so she put me in touch with Vanessa Bedmar, and the writer, producer, and star of, and one of the stars in the show, and they wrote in a part for me.
Right, and Ling and Tom are really great in this too. So is that the selling point also?
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? They're hysterical. Hysterical. I mean, seriously, this show is one of those where you like pee in your pants kind of thing. I mean, you're like, what? They did not just do that. And Tom Sizemore, actually, this was I just worked with him again this year on a film as well. So we're like buds now. And I'm very impressed with Tom. His resume is pretty amazing. So yeah. And Ling, I know her from recently from conventions in the past like year and a half or so. So, and she's a sweetheart.
Right. And you've done a lot of stuff in the horror genre, but when I was looking at your IMDb, there wasn't a whole lot of comedy on there. So was this a chance, like a risk to you, or was it just something new you wanted to do as well?
I did a lot of comedy in television, actually. So, and it's funny because actually my resume, there's some horror, but the majority is episodic and sitcoms and, that kind of thing. So, but to do a comedy is great. And as would have it, so Barbee Rehab, comedy, and then I just did a movie last year called Don't Suck, with this amazing comedian, comedy. And then the movie I just did this year with Tom Sizemore called Woods Witch, comedy, improv, all that. And so I'm loving to get to do all this fun stuff.
Right. And people may recognize you from A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and The Final Nightmare, and now you're still doing it. So you're still acting. So how has it been that, you're still getting these jobs and, you're still being introduced to people all these years? So how does that feel?
Well, it's interesting because I actually took a very long hiatus. I had 2 children, and I really wanted, once they started school, I really wanted to be an at-home mom, be the room mom. And I couldn't exactly be flying off to New York to film for 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I just left. I left for probably 10, 15 years. So it's really pretty much just before COVID happened that I decided to delve back in. Maybe a year before COVID, I dived back in. And it is amazing to me. And I'm eternally grateful that so many of these kids that saw the Nightmare movies and whatnot, well, they've grown up to be their writers and directors and producers and all that. And, they had a crush on Alice Johnson, or they love my, warrior character, and so they'll just, call my agent and say, hey, I have this script, will Lisa read it? I want her to play this role, blah, blah, blah. So it's pretty awesome to get, because auditioning sucks. I hate auditioning. It's such a drag, especially now with it's all remote auditions. So I've got to set up lights and the green screen and find someone to read with me through the iPad. Oh my God, it's very complicated. I'll tell you. Plus, technical problems and stuff. And it's like, I was trained to act.
Right.
I'm not a gaffer.
And you know what? You've been in the industry so long, you've seen it evolve now to where streaming and independent movies now are really where we get the most out of the box and creative content now instead of, the bigger studio films. So how do you kind of react to all of this new content coming out? Because I was talking to Sandy Johnson last night, and I'm like, this new wave is kind of the new grindhouse era with all these independent filmmakers coming out. from social media outlets, and there's some great content out there. So how do you feel about the evolution of filmmaking now?
I am completely supportive. Oh my goodness. It's so great because there are so many more avenues now for a beginning filmmaker to get seen. And also, and there's more content for us actors to be in. You know what I mean? It's not just ABC, NBC, and CBS. I mean,
Right.
and Fox. That was like 4 networks, and that was it basically. I mean, then the big studio films, Paramount, MGM, which is no longer, but now you can be your own producer, you can be your own distributor. I think it's wonderful because I was a beginner. One time I had nothing on my resume, you know what I mean? And I had to, climb up the ladder kind of thing. I mean, I worked really hard and I studied hard, of course, but I think it's great that there's just more ways to express.
Right. And then going back to Barbie Rehab, what were some of your favorite moments to film in the series?
Well, I can't.
Without giving any spoilers, of course.
I'm trying not to spoil it,
Right.
I'm just going to say, be prepared to, I mean, there's this one scene that I do with Tom Sizemore, and, we do some improvising too and stuff. And it's pretty funny, because my character is basically a sort of a satire of an actress who played Alice Johnson. So that's the concept for my character. And I come into the series a little bit later. But next season, you're going to see even more of me.
Well, that's good to know that you already have a second season lined up. So that's got to be really fascinating too.
Well, that's the intention, but we don't know yet. I mean, so, we have to, it's being launched and we'll see how it goes. But it really is quite raucous and definitely adult comedy. So,
oh yeah, very much adult themed, especially with Tom Sizemore in it as well. With his character.
Right, exactly.
And so with, spanning your career, what have been some of your favorites that you've been a part of?
Oh my goodness. I would say, well, definitely Alice Johnson is so close to my heart to play the Dream Master. I mean, come on. And then Dream Child was such has gained so much more popularity in the past few years because at the time, you have to think of all the subject matter was very taboo. In Nightmare 5, we're talking about teen pregnancy, sex before marriage, abortion, adoption. Oh, then we have Greta, bulimia, anorexia. Then we have my father's a recovered alcoholic. I mean,
Right. And not to mention that was part of the satanic panic era. And with the soundtrack you guys had, especially with Dokken doing the theme song, that was pretty taboo at that point too, with everything.
It was pretty heavy. So now in 2022, I would say starting 2018, I have so many more people come up. The Nightmare 5 is actually their favorite one. So anyway, Alice Johnson. But another role I loved playing was Carol Brady and / Florence Henderson. It was amazing to be on the Brady Bunch set. Okay. And playing Carol Brady. And then it breaks. It's part of the movie though. And the actor who's playing the director of the Brady Bunch. So we get to then I get to be Florence Henderson too. So that was an absolute blast. And gee, my homework was to watch lots of Brady Bunch episodes. Gee.
Yeah, that was really tough homework.
I know. And then I think thirdly, well, I love Star Trek Next Generation Utah. I'm actually a property on the Next Gen Monopoly board. And I just did one guest star, but they don't do that very often on Star Trek. And that role is also one very precious to me. And I don't know, there's so many. Walker, Texas Ranger, I play a nun. This beautiful, beautiful, sad story. It was that was amazing to work on that too. So anyway, there's lots of stuff.
So we've talked about Barbee Rehab. We talked about your previous films in your career. Is there anything upcoming for you that you got planned?
Oh yeah, that I filmed and it's not out yet. Oh yeah, I have a film called High Tide. I have one with Don't Suck. It's called Don't Suck with
Oh yeah,
James
we did
Kennedy.
talk about that one. Yeah.
Okay, then I have Woods Witch with Tom. Then I have I know there's more. And there's one that did come out called Mystery Spot. And actually it did show up to film festivals, and I was nominated at the Buffalo Film Festival for Best Actress, which was quite an honor. I didn't win, but I was nominated. So that's pretty awesome. Great, wonderful story. So you can watch for that coming out, being distributed soon.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight, Lisa. It's been really fun and really nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. And everybody, Barbee Rehab, it's addicting.
All right. Have a good night, Lisa.
All right, thanks.